morning, everyone. My name is Jeffrey Seitz. I'm the CEO and founder of Fixed Genomics. Thank you all for being here to listen to my message today. And a special thank you to our organizers. I'm likely one of the newer CEOs to the country, so I really appreciate the opportunity to be here and to be able to tell what we're going to how we're going to make this a better place to live. So what is genomics? Genomics is the makeup of our complete genetic makeup. We're probably familiar more with the term genes. Well, that only makes up actually about 1% of our total genetic makeup. And those are responsible for things like our eye color and our height. But the other 99% is all the guidance systems that actually drive that and make that happen. Genomics is accelerating at a pace never seen before, faster than any other industry and any other experience. This is happening in all living organisms, whether it's humans or plants or microorganisms, and we're helping identify cause and conduct of diseases and to investigate and generate better health care outcomes. It's also big data and artificial intelligence. I mentioned this on the video. The human genome is a vast repository of information. There's about 3 billion individual codes, which we call base pairs. And when you take that information off the instrument that actually generates that sequence, called the genomic sequencer, there's about a terabyte of data. So it's a significant amount of data. And so industry is now extracting meaningful information from all that data to drive better healthcare outcomes. And it's perfect timing because big data and artificial intelligence is really advancing around the same time. One of our initiatives, hopefully that's coming up, yes, one of our initiatives is for Fixed Genomics is to build the very first Filipino-specific genome database. This has never been done before, and this population has a bunch of mutations and genetic variations that are different from every other population. So when we build this, we're going to be able to drive better treatments, build better drugs, and improve healthcare outcomes. And it's something that really you're probably going to see more and more of. This is just from a few days ago about Google and their initiatives to take artificial intelligence and apply it to healthcare. So how did this all come about? When we generated the first human genome that was completed in around the year 2000, that took 13 years, about 2,000 employees, and it cost about $3 billion. A new technology came out in 2006 called next generation sequencing, and today with the advancements in this field, we can now generate that same amount of data in less than 1 day with less than 1 employee for $300. From $3 billion to $300 for the same amount of data. So we're taking that new technology, which is easier, faster, and significantly less expensive, and this is changing the way scientists are approaching the research and empowering them to look at the minute differences that provide us with the understanding of new diseases in biology. And this has led to the commercialization of genomics. So just to review some numbers and why I'm here today, we did a big market analysis. It's a $140 billion industry in just the next few years. And genomic diagnostics, the clinical side, is actually the largest sector of that. And within clinical diagnostics, actually, the highest growth sector is here in Asia Pacific, with roughly a 13% increase on a compound annual growth rate. And just to show you some numbers on how it's contributing to the US economy, we're looking at over 100,000 jobs, $6 billion in personal income, $9 billion in value add, $16 billion in total output, and huge contributions to federal and local tax. This is an interesting statistic that I hope will put this into perspective for you. Genomics is generating more data than any other industry on Earth today. That is, we generate more data than YouTube, Twitter, and astronomy combined. So you can imagine how many videos are out there, how many tweets go out every day, and all the information behind stars, and we are generating more data than that in genomics. We're in what's called the exabyte era. That's 12 zeros behind a 1, and we're quickly entering what's called the zettabyte era. So another bunch of big numbers to share with you, all in the billions of dollars and all happening in just the next few years. One of the things that I think will maybe contribute to the wellness folks here today is this at-home genetic testing. It can be really feed into some of these web-based channels, and this is a $25 billion industry in just the next few years. This is a quote. It got cut off on the bottom there, but this is from the Economic Times on November 2nd, I believe, and it's a quote that came out from them that said, "In the last 25 years, genomic technologies have evolved faster than any computing technology, and in the forecast of $140 billion is absolutely an underestimate." So moving on to some definitions, I wanted to give you an understanding of how we actually extract information from any given living tissue. So it starts by getting that sample, whether it be plant tissue or human tissue, and then we extract the DNA and we run it through a sample preparation process. Then it goes on to the instrument that actually generates that code, and a terabyte information comes off the instrument, which means you have to have some data storage. Then we apply these genomic algorithms to the data, and so we can extract that data. Then we're going to interpret that, we're going to generate reports, and then we pump that information out to shareholders. Clinical genomics. This is becoming a standard of care for many hereditary and acquired conditions, where clinical geneticists search for alterations in the DNA that can affect susceptibility to cancer and other diseases. Genomics reveals how DNA affects health, disease, and response to drugs, and deciphering this complexity is essential to creating better medicines and using existing medicines more effectively. In precision medicine, we're understanding how these millions of variations from person to person, and this leads to better medical decision practices, interventions, new product development, and it's all being tailored to the individual based on their predicted response. In the field of genomic diagnostics, we can break it into clinical genomics and non-clinical. So I've touched a bit on this already. Our business will focus on the clinical business mainly, and that is cancer testing, inherited diseases, infectious diseases, pharmacogenomics. Pharmacogenomics is the study of your DNA and how you respond to drugs or metabolize drugs. It can be used for organ donor matching. And one of the very first commercialized assays in clinical genomics is something called non-invasive pregnancy diagnostics. This is replacing amniocentesis. Amniocentesis does not exist now in the developed world. This is where you take a needle and you stick it into the womb of a pregnant mother to determine the health of the prenatal child in the second trimester. We can now do that with a simple blood draw, a non-invasive procedure, detect the fetal DNA in the maternal blood in an absolutely non-invasive way, and have 100% accurate results. In the non-clinical space, we have lifestyle genetics. So this is for the use of better management of lifestyle decisions, both for fitness and nutrition. And you probably are familiar with some of these large direct-to-consumer non-clinical tests. Maybe you heard of a company called 23andMe or Ancestry.com. And so you can use this information for parentage, lineage, and ethnicity. So what is Fix doing? So we're registered as a pioneer with the SEC, which is pretty cool. We're establishing the very first clinical genomic diagnostic lab in the country. These services are being provided, as Richard said, but it's all leaving the country right now. So we're going to be the first ones to set that up here. We're also going to be the first to develop a Philippine genome-specific database. And again, this is going to contribute to more accurate diagnosis and lead to better treatments and medicines for Filipinos. As David said in his presentation, it's all about the education. So the pre and post care for all of these services. So we package training, education, and counseling along with the latest and most inclusive list of commercialized assays. I say follow the leaders because if you look at any of the developed world or any of the Western world that has successfully implemented genomics in their country, you cannot do this alone. So there needs to be a concerted effort with industry, with national genome and academic centers, with leading medical associations, and with governments in order to bring genomics successfully into this country. Really, genomic diagnostics is really the only way to assess inherited diseases today. It's something that many families who are exposed to inherited disease are challenged by. They go through what's called the diagnostic odyssey. There's an 8-year period or average period that they go through, and so we're able to eliminate that diagnostic odyssey and really give a definitive result. That gives a lot of relief to patients and families. And this information can also be used for future family planning. Infectious diseases, the same kind of concepts. Old school techniques. You have to grow up a bug on a petri dish. Takes weeks and weeks. You do individual bugs on individual plates. Now we can do it all in one test. Tens of thousands of organisms in one test turned around in roughly 96 hours. So you can imagine how that applies to epidemics. Imagine how Ebola, dengue, and influenza as an epidemic, and we can determine definitive results in a very short period of time and how that can deal with control. Pharmacogenomics is the use of genetics to understand the metabolism of drugs. Sick kids. Neonatal intensive care unit. This is having a huge impact. 25% of neonatal intensive care children have genetic diseases. And so now, by offering this as a standard of care, and this is done in England and various departments or institutes in the US, we're actually able to have a real impact and mitigate their scenarios, and now the families can focus on their care. All right, we're living in the realm at the very beginning of a genomics revolution. I like to put it in a context that it's the days of the Commodore 64. Fixed genomics is going to make the Philippines a better place to live. We're going to bring patients benefit from getting more accurate and well-informed treatments with less side effects. We're using more efficient and reliable diagnostics, which improves health outcomes and results in lower healthcare costs. And we're creating jobs and driving the economy by creating jobs and creating channel partner opportunities.